have a break and then I have active from 1:30 to 3:45.
Okay, let me introduce the TAs. Come on in, come on in. Taylor, there's somebody in there. Where's the empty seats? Is there one back there? Okay, that's empty. Okay, obviously we're full, right? But that's good, right? We're all here for learning, and this is day 2, so we're all kind of still getting organized. So although I may look disorganized, I'm really organized, I think, but it's, things don't always work out. Let me introduce the TAs because some you'll only see on Monday. Hannah back here, raise your hand, stand up Hannah so people can see it. She'll be here Monday, but she's not going to be here other days because I'm going to use her in a class for Animal Science 446 called Management of Companion Animals, because she's got that time available on Tuesday, Thursday. Oh, I see it. I think it's is my computer working? Yeah. Anyway, she's a registered vet tech. And my other class is called Management of Companion Animals. We always talk about vaccinations and all that, so I'm going to use her. But she's going to be here Mondays. Erin, stand up. Erin is, you took the class last year, right? And you're actually not an animal science major, right? You're biology.
Yeah.
But you want to go to vet school and so forth, and we have a very common close friend, Rochelle, and so forth. And I think you're going to be here, not Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
So we decided you're going to be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay? Then Taylor, there's Taylor. Taylor, are you an animal science major?
I am.
And you took this class 1 or 2 years ago?
Last year.
Oh, just last year, okay.
Yep.
And you brought your beautiful, don't tell me his name. Tell me. Royal. I knew it was something, fancy, but anyway, okay. Okay, so what did we say you were going to be here? Tuesday, Thursday, and then before class on Thursday,
Yep.
okay. And then we have Sarah. And Sarah, are you an animal science major?
I am majoring in animal sciences and ag education.
Okay, excellent, yeah, because that's what I liked about you, because you're ag ed as well, and there's a shortage out there. Thank you, Sarah, because there's a shortage of ag teachers. I know somebody that just graduated this spring in animal science. She's going to be teaching ag in a high school. They have an emergency license.
Yeah, is that Michaela?
No, it's Dakota. Yeah, so there might be more than one, but anyway, yeah, it's like there's a shortage, and so this person, Dakota, is very talented. So I can just see her doing well anyway. So let me shut this thing off for a second. Somehow I know what's happening here. So this first week, especially, we get rid of the mechanics, but we're still having an assessment on Thursday in math 175, right? Between now and then, I've got to go make sure the building still exists, or I know math exists, but sometimes you schedule things. I've got it reserved, but who knows if, sometimes if they remodel it, they don't tell you. Okay, so now here's an interesting thing happened today. Hannah was answering some questions, which is perfect. The door was shut and people thought another class was going on. So let me tell you here, and I'll show you this again. Let me do the document again. At 10:30 on Tuesday, this room is ours. Even if, let's see, President Mitch Daniels, right? That's who is our president. Even if he's in here, kick him out because I have it reserved, okay? So even if the door's shut, come, and maybe what we'll have as a routine is whatever TA's here first, prop the door open and make sure, it's open so people can come in. Then that's just the mechanics of it. So here, let me show you again on this thing. And it's funny, this has to be crooked up in here. Just to review, Monday we did. The room is busy before and after. Tuesday we did this, it was available. Hannah, did you get here at 10:30?
I did,
Okay.
but this is the only week I can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, well, you're not going to usually be here anyway. Remember, you're only
Right.
Monday now for here. But I'm just saying, whoever is here, and maybe there's nobody, just feel free to open the door, open it and prop it open, whoever's here. So then we have class going on now, hopefully being recorded with sound. I'm going to tell you about something about yesterday. And then I'm going to hang around at least after class. So there's been people asking me about different things. Tomorrow we come here, routine, we don't have the space before and after. And then on Thursday, we have an assessment here. We'll have like a little mini lecture, then an assessment. But you could come to that Math 175 at 10:30. You have a whole hour if you want to like eat lunch, study, whatever, right? Remember, the room's available. I have to talk to the building deputy over at Math because we'll be bringing animals sometimes, and I always try to give them a warning. If you see dogs, cats, snakes, it's mine, and I'm authorized to bring animals into any room, any building on campus in the teaching mode, right? But sometimes people go, what was that dog doing? Pets aren't allowed in buildings. So I always try to give them a fair warning. Anybody have any questions on the mechanics there? Okay. Now, I'm recording these lectures. Now, in the past, like Aaron and my friend Rochelle used to take notes, right? And then if somebody missed class, we'd give them a copy of the notes or send them a file of it. But what's better about the recording, it does all the visual and the audio, right, on a video. Yesterday, I had the best intentions, and actually that's a nice spot for the camera because if it was on a tripod, somebody might trip, or that camera is over $1,000 and it could get wrecked, but it's in the cabinet, it's kind of safe. It's not perfect, but I think it's going to do a good job. But yesterday I was doing all this stuff, we were having fun with the penis. How many had fun with the penis yesterday? Let's raise a hand. Thank you. Okay, a couple of you. Anyway, I got home last night and the visual was there, but it was silent. There was no audio. I thought, oh my gosh, all my great jokes about IU and all that. What happened was it's made, I don't want to call it a design flaw, but if that little microphone isn't pushed in all the way, it doesn't record any sound. And it doesn't really need that microphone, but it picks up the sound better. Long story short, here's what I did last night. I didn't have time to do it, but I did it. I played some of the video and then voiced over. So now open your notes to yesterday and let's do a quick review in case I forgot something. So then we can get it recorded. And this will be good for everybody. So anyway, and I'll show you, as soon as we get done here, I'll show you where these videos are going to be located. I made a new playlist on my YouTube. Okay, so tell me from the beginning of class, what did you write down? Somebody tell me over here.
Ambient.
Ambient. So ambient's a word. It can stand alone, meaning the immediate surrounding. And you can talk about ambient temperature. You can talk about ambient carbon monoxide levels. Don't always think it's tied with temperature, okay? Ambient. And let me show you how to look it up. And then also, let's see if we can have a sound file explain. Okay, so remember you go to this website here. And if I'm ever doing something here and it's not showing up there, raise your hand because there's certain buttons to push. What I'm seeing on the monitor doesn't have to actually be projected. Anyway, so we're going to do Physiology Domestic Animals, and then I think I put One Look Dictionary. This dictionary right there, actually, you type in something, and I think it searches 1,000 dictionaries. So One Look Dictionary, and then we're going to type in ambient. Is that how you spell it? And see how it kind of fills in for you too, which is kind of neat. And so this is, if you're spelling impaired like me, this is kind of neat. You can remember how something starts. So ambient. And then, actually it's good to know more than one definition because nobody is perfect. So let me look over here. Existing or present around you. That's pretty much what I said, right? So the ambient temperature in here, I don't have my infrared thermometer today, but would be something. And then if you go outside, it's something else, right? Or if you walk into a freezer, it's something else. It's the air around you, or in this case, something around you. Ambient temperature, so then now the type of music, that's not for us, right? We're only physiology. So then there's usually a dictionary that does a pretty good job of putting sound files with the definition. And here's my favorite one right there. That's the beginning one, the Merriam-Webster. So I'm going to click on that. But before I do, look at how many definitions of, and there's always a medicine category. Think of that as biology, okay? But this one up here usually does a pretty good job of having a sound bite with it. And we'll make sure my sound, and again, it's another button here. Let's see, ambient. existing or present on all sides. And see that little thing right there?
Ambient. Ambient. Ambient.
Okay, so now what I like about that is, let's say you run into some words that you may not know how to pronounce. Now hopefully you spelled that in your notes, because could be on the test Thursday. So I'm going to train you in this week, but then the rest of the week I won't say, write that down, right? I'm just promoting, this. This is a word that it looks like you would pronounce it hypertrophy. But out in the real word it's hypertrophy. But we'll see what they sound. So there it is, hypertrophy. It means growing bigger. You can have, let's see, TAs, help me with hypertrophy. What can get larger? Heart, so cardiac hypertrophy, okay? So there's an example where the heart enlarges, and there's definitely cases of that. Somehow, my background it's a lot of reproduction, and so I was doing testicular hypertrophy, so I don't know. Anyway, right? So something's getting bigger than normal, usually, and it's not always abnormal, because you can have muscle hypertrophy if you go to the correct and your muscles grow larger. You don't actually get more muscle cells, the cells just get bigger. Okay, so let's see what they say. So, abnormal, so now here's what I don't quite like about it, because they say abnormal enlargement of a body part or organ, and sometimes it's not abnormal. Okay? Here's an example. Back to the testes. If in a young animal you take out one testis, the other testis hypertrophies. And you wouldn't maybe say that's abnormal. It's going to be bigger than normal, trying to do the function of both. So it's not perfect, but definitely an enlargement of a body part or organ, right? So then, let's see if my favorite dictionary has a sound file.
Hypertrophy. Hypertrophy.
Right? So there you go. Okay, so now let's go back here and let me show you where yesterday's video is, and we'll play just a little bit of it and see if it works, because I think it wasn't, but it was getting kind of late. So, well, I guess you could go here. So you go back here to our main page, and it says Rod's YouTube channel. So if you miss a lecture or want to review a lecture for the assessment that's coming up, you would go to my channel, and right here, Physiology Domestic Animals, there's one video. That's yesterday's. Remember, it's not perfect because I did a sound over. But so once there's more lectures, I'm not sure if I'm going to put lecture 2 under it or over it, and stack them as the most recent. I think I'll put them underneath, because somebody else visiting it will say, why did you put 2 over 1? You know what I mean? So here it is, 21 minutes long. So let's see what happened here. Okay, I went to the document cam because I was going to show them. So now, remember, it has visual, but I'm
in class
doing this.
So
I'm dubbing this.
In this grid work I have here, and I know I'll be talking about it, or there'll be there, probably active. They have parenchymal cells of the kidney. You could have parenchymal
Okay, so there's
cells
sound there,
of
okay?
Pancreas. This one says parenchymal cell of the liver. So parenchymal is a general term that means.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? So don't look for the video right after class. It takes some processing, to get it up there. Now, let's see what else I want to talk about. Okay, so yeah. Let's do a little, I think I got all the mechanics. Anybody have any question on mechanics, where we meet, what we're doing? The assessments, maybe one last point about the assessments. Obviously, we haven't had one before. So this assessment 1 will have material any place from that line. Remember, it said below this line is testable until Thursday. Now, when we get over to math, on Thursday we'll start class at 11:40. See if there's any questions, and I might have some comments, maybe a TA has some comments. Yeah, and I've got one more thing I want to make a point of. And then at a certain time, maybe at about this time, maybe right at noon, we'll pass out the assessment. And then whenever you're done, you just hand me the answer sheet. You take the questions out in the hallway or to the back of the room. I can't remember how that room is organized. But the key will be right outside the door. So instantaneously, you will know your score. And that's good because then maybe I'll have a TA in the hallway and then, or I'll be in the hallway, something will work this out. You can ask me why that is wrong or correct out in the hallway. And that's a good thing because you've struggled with it, and the best time to correct incorrections are right then. Then assessment 2, the next week. Now we use the 80-20 rule. On any assessment, 80% is the most recent, but 20% can be anything. So that's kind of comprehensive, right? So use the 80-20 rule. So this week's material, a question can show up 10 weeks from now. Got it? The 80-20 rule. It doesn't apply for assessment 1 on Thursday because there hasn't been anything previous. One last thing. I'm working on, remember how you guys did the survey? Most of you? I am working on a little box where if you have a question that you want to submit, that you will go to the certain website and in a box type your question. And that way we'll get a written copy of it, and I'm going to have it automatically sent to my secretary who's right across the hall here. And then in the morning we can look at the questions, whoever TAs are here, and we go, oh, that's a good question or whatever. So I'm working on that, but my secretary didn't get the message that I did a survey over here, so I don't want to tell you about where the website for that survey, not survey, a question box. I'll do that. So the TAs tomorrow, remind me about the survey, the question box, okay? Because I'll try to work on that tonight. Any other comments? Okay. So now, let me give you a little brief thing about red blood cells. And you guys read these things. I'm not reading it. But obviously, red blood cells are important. And here's a couple things about them. And yeah, they're the most numerous cell in blood. There's definitely no doubt about that. And if you've looked at the videos, and yeah, the other thing is, hopefully by Monday, when Monday rolls around next Monday, you've looked at all that week's material. Because Monday will be kind of like a little preview by the TAs, and we'll get into that probably tomorrow. But blood, when you take a blood sample or you spill blood, what percent of the body's weight is blood weight? 7%. And what's that? Average. It's an average, remember? Some people go, no, it's 6.5, and don't argue with them, it's just an average. Isn't it easier to use 7 when you're doing mental math rather than 6.5 or 6.3 or 5.9, right? So that was a little bit of review. So we did ambient, and so that was a little review too that I'm not sure I put on that yesterday's soundbite. But when you have 7% of the body weight is blood weight, then a lot of that, the blood is red, and it's red because of red blood cells. Okay? What's the condition where you could get almost, I'm going to say white blood? Leukemia. Leukemia is an interesting word because leukemia means white blood. Because emia at the end, E-M-I-A, means blood, and leuko means white, basically. So leukemia literally means white blood. So leukemia is a condition where there's too many white blood cells. And you might say, isn't that good? No, because a lot of those white blood cells really aren't functional. So it's like, it's a disease, it's, too many white blood cells. So, and that reminds me, I got off the track. We did ambient, we did blood. How about yesterday, anything else that we need to review that was content? We did a couple of questions on the quizzes, and I did that on the voiceover. Anything else? We talked about active and passive, right? Excellent. And then the other thing is, remember when I showed you the syllabus, you're supposed to know the definitions of all those terms in the topics and subtopics, right? Anything else in your notes that we can verbalize right now from yesterday, in case I goofed up on my voiceover? Because that was pure memory. And I had another class in the afternoon, so I was juggling different, yeah.
You talked about that when you're early fetus or blood cells.
Right, oh yeah, the early fetus, the liver's making red blood cells. Now who answered mom did that? That, and the reason is you did us a great favor. And I just want to make sure that when you answer things, even if you're not sure, tell us, because it kind of logically, why wouldn't mom give the fetus red blood cells, right? I could see that, and I love that as an answer, but you know, there is no mom that ever gives red blood cells to the fetus. They can't really get across the placenta, and we'll talk about when an animal's pregnant, what can get across the placenta. Things can get across the placenta, but usually not cells, okay? So that was a great lesson. The liver in the fetus makes red blood cells, but mom can never give the fetus red blood cells. And what's really interesting, a little sidebar, in horses, if mom's red blood cells, well actually no, if the fetus's red blood cells get exposed to mom's side, there's a terrible thing that's set up. So it's actually, nothing should pass, no cells should pass between the fetus and the mare, in this case the mom. And in horses, there's a great example we'll talk about where some of the fetal red blood cells get exposed to the mom, and then she does something natural, but it could kill the foal after birth. You can have a very healthy foal, and if something's happened that you don't know, the foal can be dead in 2 days, and it's very sad. I mean, a very healthy, normal foal. So, interesting. Okay, so I think we reviewed yesterday pretty good. Okay, so now these blood cells, you know, you can do a blood smear that says canine blood smear, and so forth, and you read these things. But all red blood cells in mammals are anuclear. That's one word. Sorry, my voice is cracking here. So anuclear is a one word. And A in this case is a prefix, meaning without. So there's a prefix A, and then also sometimes it's AN in other words. But that prefix means without. Okay, so anuclear means those red blood cells don't have a nucleus. So if you don't have a nucleus, you don't have a brain. You're very passive. And in your reading, you should realize that red blood cells and the platelets also are anuclear. The platelets are called thrombocytes, and that's kind of a misnomer because they're not even a full cell. They're just a fragment of a big cell, but that's okay. We'll call them thrombocytes or platelets. And you know these, everything has two names at least. The interesting thing is, if somebody came in the room and had a smear, blood smear, and we put it on the microscope, I could tell if it was mammal blood or avian blood. Anybody know how I could tell the difference?
Bird blood cells have nuclei.
Birds' red blood cells have a nucleus, and they're different shape too. But the thing is, you know, remember how I said mammals don't have red nucleus in their red blood cells, and here birds do. So it's amazing. Here's a little trick or a little key. When a red blood cell is first made in a horse or a dog, it does have a nucleus, but it loses it. But back to being very passive. So red blood cells are brainless. They can't divide. They can't do a whole lot of things. They float around with hemoglobin inside, and oxygen loves to bind to hemoglobin. That's how, you know, we're going to talk about respiration. Air comes in, and in this box of air that I'm highlighting here, what percent of this box is oxygen? What's that? 68 is a guess. Any other numbers? 21. 21% of this room is oxygen. And that means like 78% is something else. This seems really weird. Nitrogen. So the room has more nitrogen than oxygen. And then hopefully a little carbon dioxide, not much. Especially if I keep talking, it'll go up a little bit anyway. And the interesting thing is, so oxygen is binding to hemoglobin, but what other molecule that especially people can run into that loves hemoglobin, I think it's 200 times more than oxygen, and that's a problem when something else would rather be there. What is that molecule? You read about it in the newspaper sometimes.
Carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide, C, capital O. Carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin 200 times better than oxygen. So that makes it very dangerous because then, and it doesn't want to give up. So even if the concentration of carbon monoxide is pretty low in a room, over time, you can be displacing oxygen and having carbon monoxide, and then you die from carbon monoxide poisoning. How many have ever read about that in the newspaper? Any people falling asleep in cars, their houses, something? Okay, and you've had it before. Sometimes electricity goes out and people bring the barbecue grill inside to heat it up or whatever, and there'll be whole families die. I think one article I remember was 8 family members died in one house because the furnace was maladjusted and the pipe was loose or something. It's terrible because you breathe it in, it binds to the hemoglobin, and it says, I'm binding, and oxygen then comes in, but it can't bind any place, so then it doesn't get circulated in the body. It's crazy, terrible. Okay, then something about, I'm talking more about red blood cells now. When you take a blood sample and you spin it in a centrifuge, and if you don't know what a centrifuge is, that's an instrument that you put buckets or tubes or whatever in, and it subjects it to gravity, and things fall to the bottom. You know, it's usually spinning around like this, but you can do a bucket of whatever or a test tube. But if you ever do that, then you take a blood sample, all the red blood cells go to the bottom. And so you get this column that's the original height, but on the top it's basically clear with serum or plasma, depending on how you handled it. And on the bottom, about, what do I want to say? About, are we saying 55%? I think I usually say the hematocrit. Aaron, do you remember? What am I? Okay, so it's 45. A normal height is 45% is red blood cells when you spin it. Yeah, thanks. Because I always try to do a convention. So when you spin blood, 45% of that column's height is red blood cell, and the rest of it, 55%, then is plasma or serum. Notice how I'm saying plasma or serum? Because it's either serum or it's plasma. It can't be both on top. So you get this thing called hematocrit or packed cell volume. Now, what if the dog doesn't get water all day and you take a blood sample that night? What happens to the packed cell volume versus normal?
It's going to be higher.
Higher, and that's really sounds weird, but during dehydration, packed cell volume is increased. Think of it as the animal's short of water, so that there's less water in the blood, and so there's more, relatively speaking, more red blood cells. So during dehydration, packed cell volume increases, okay? And then again, remember, 45% is our convention. Different animals have different packed cell volumes. But it's good to know, because then if you draw 100 mils of blood, how many mils of plasma can I get out of it? 55, got it? So I can get 55 mils. How many cc's can I get out of it? 55, yeah, make sure you know 1 mil equals 1 cc, right? But then in a dehydrated animal, you would get less than 55 mils, okay, depending on the degree of dehydration. Okay, so then we've got plasma or serum, we got the red blood cells, but then we didn't talk about the white blood cells or the platelets. And I know the white blood cells stack on top of the red blood cells, but sometimes there's so few you can't even see it. But if there are a lot, they are white. Yes?
I'm so sorry. What
No.
You said dehydration causes what kind of cells to increase?
Well, when you take a blood sample from a dehydrated animal, the packed cell volume increases. Will be increased over normal. Remember, I always said the dog doesn't get water all day, so it's after some dehydration event. Yeah. So I've had animals where you could visually see the white blood cells. There's enough on top